Marine veteran Daniel Penny has now been indicted by a New York City grand jury in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. Two sources tell NBC News the charge is second-degree manslaughter. If convicted, he faces up to 15 years in prison. This comes just days after Penny defended himself in a video released by his attorneys, saying he wasn't just afraid for himself, but for others on the train.
I knew I had to act. And I acted in a way that would protect the other passengers, protect myself, and protect Mr. Neely. The three main threats that he repeated over and over was, I'm gonna kill you, I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die. I used this hold to restrain him, and I did this by leaving my hand on top of his head to control his body. You could see in the video there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he was still breathing.
Joining me now, Barbara McQuade, a former U.S. attorney and an MSNBC legal analyst. Also with me, NBC's Stephanie Gosk, who is following this story for us. Stephanie, I mean, do we really know what's in this indictment? Because you and I were having a question before this. There's an awful lot we don't know about this case.
Yeah, there's an awful lot we don't know. And starting with that indictment, right, it's still under seal and it might be released at the arraignment, which is scheduled for June 28th. But we know that he was charged with second-degree manslaughter in this case. And, you know, you have a response from Jordan Neely's family saying that this, in their words, is the right result for the wrong he, meaning Daniel Penny, committed. But there you have it, very forcefully from his own mouth, Daniel Penny saying that this was a way to protect himself, that people in that train feared for their lives, and that's what he was trying to do, that he meant to restrain him and, in his words, not kill him.
So, Barbara, how tricky are self-defense claims? What do you need to show? Or, you know, if you feel like you're protecting others in addition to yourself?
Yeah, so defense of others is a valid defense, even if he says he was not fearful for himself. So in the law is essentially the same. And in New York, the law of self-defense or defense of others requires a reasonable fear of loss of life or serious bodily injury. And so, you know, based on the things he said, that he was going to kill people, that he was willing to die for it, could amount to that. But the law is also designed to avoid vigilante justice. And so when, you know, an ordinary citizen engages in this kind of behavior, a chokehold, which police officers are prohibited from doing, we see the dangers that can arise. And so certainly somebody has the ability to intervene there, but the question for a jury will be whether his conduct was reasonable or he crossed the line as to what was reasonable, perhaps restraining him. But doing so in a chokehold is something that put his life in danger and may have crossed the line of what a jury believes to be reasonable.
Would you imagine, Barbara, that his military training would come into play?
It could. I think that that would be part of both the prosecution and the defense about the dangers of chokeholds. One of the things that police officers, and I imagine military personnel, are trained in is the danger of a chokehold, because you cut off the air passage, and so people are, there's a risk of death there. So he may use it as part of his defense, that he thought he knew what he was doing and therefore acting reasonably. But reasonableness is an objective standard, what a jury thinks is reasonable, not what he thinks is reasonable. And the prosecution may want to use it to say he was trained and he knew better and therefore acting unreasonably.
We know some things, Stephanie, about Jordan Neely. We know that he was known to New York City officials, that he was someone who was considered to be at high risk, a homeless person, someone who is known to have mental health issues. But
arrested a number of times in incidents that were violent.
So we've all seen the video. Most people have seen it multiple times. But that is one part of this, right? What are the do we know if there are, for example, other videotapes? Do we know how many people were on that train? Because we haven't heard from
And this is a really
folks.
important point. There was one witness who spoke about this and said that he was acting in a threatening manner. And you have, obviously, Daniel Penny as well. But you have just that one clip, and we don't know how long the chokehold lasted, because it starts right in the middle of it. Were there other people there? What were the impressions of the people who were on the train? All of that's going to come out over the course of a trial, and it could really change the context of this incident, which a lot of people feel like they understand fully. I would submit that maybe we don't yet.